You ever like started something and had all the right intentions and everything was going good, like the honeymoon period, and then like stuff starts to happen, and it kind of really tests your resolve about if you really about that thing, like if you really don't. And it's so funny. Um, in doing this podcast and kind of started this whole thing about like content creation and like getting my voice out there, this was my brand, and spread good vibes and good messages. It seems like a lot of people start and don't keep going. Like most things that are worthwhile, person start with the greatest intentions and then like don't follow through. And I had a minute. Well, let me not even say a minute. Sometimes I think about quitting this thing like twice a week, bruh. Twice a week. And last couple weeks was especially rough because I've recently found out about myself that I have a bad habit. So I do this thing where like I work really hard and like I go like not to the extreme, but like I put my full effort to like a very significant amount of work, balancing for me, like balancing working my responsibilities at home. You got bills to pay. You still got the business. You're trying to create content for the business. You still got edit the content for the business. Trying to network. And Saturdays for my future, and it was like I got to a point where it was like, yo, I just like I just crashed. Like I burned out. So there's a thing I realized now for me that I work really hard for like 8 to 10 weeks, and then like I just crashed. Like, I just cut out. Like things be going so good, and then boom, and it was real stressful. Like I genuinely was like dismayed all the time. And I know some of you may be feeling that exact same way. Like especially right now, person have exams, and it's so funny. I was thinking back to like when I had my my finals and like my exams. I was like, yeah, bro, like this is it. Like yeah, I did that. Like and leaving school was like I finally did it. I finally made it. And then they get knocked down 2 and 3 pegs, again, they're not that far removed from school. Just kind of showing me like what what my approach should be, and like how to deal with stress, and like how to deal with like difficult situations in general. And what's been helping me recently is like understanding why I'm doing this thing. Um, it's like if you got two people, one body doing it for external reasons and one body doing it for internal reasons. They want to better themselves. They want to do it because it intrinsically matters to them and is intrinsic motivation rather than extrinsic motivation. When you test them, the people who really about it can flake, and the people who was really down for the right reasons can show. And it kind of showed me like I had to really rethink why I've been putting so much effort into something. Like, why do I go and make a video that get 5 downloads versus one that get like 30 downloads? Am I, if I get 5 downloads, only 5 downloads in a row, am I gonna stop doing the pod? And I had to really think about the reason why I started the podcast was to so that I could be a voice to my younger self and everybody else that comes on as well, because other people could benefit. So I had to start reflecting on like when I went back to my alma mater and I seeing all these kids, and like I remember myself being in that situation. I feel like this information, I feel like there's conversations that I didn't get to have that I should have had. And now maybe I could benefit one of those people, or even somebody on the other side of the spectrum, somebody that in university or that just like kind of need to hear a different perspective or need to hear a conversation that they felt that they didn't think that was, uncomfortable or uncomfortable truth. And it kind of showed me like, yeah, I really not doing this for me. I think the greatest motivation is sometimes when you're doing something in service to others. And thinking of this that way, like persons who tell me that like I can't stop doing this because I come for you, big man. You doing a good thing, man. This is somebody told me that this is a self care, a self improvement part, and I was like, what, brother? That was never what I was going for. At first, it was education, then it was learning, and then I realized that like I want to incorporate some sort of self improvement, and I want to incorporate some sort of business. Somebody was like, yeah, this is like self care, me. But yeah, it's just kind of wild, and I just got some stuff here that like, I wanted to touch on. My feelings in those points, especially recently when I wanted to quit, is like you have all the support in a sense. I mean, not all the support, but you got people in your corner, and it was almost as like their voices weren't registering. Like it kind of took me back to when I was in military exams or somebody, but yeah, all the best, I wish you do well, and I know it gotta be difficult and stuff. Yeah, those words are kind, but they can't empathize with the exact situation to even give you advice. They're just telling you like, do good or be better, which is respectful, but it doesn't carry as much weight as somebody that's been in that situation. It's almost like the persons on the outside can have such great intentions to encourage you and motivate you and make sure that you're trying to be the best person you can. But at the end of the day, it's you in your own head. And funny enough, I've had a lot more time to like be in my own thoughts and like figure out who I am. And it's true that where I had to understand like why I'm doing this. Like you could have all the motivation in the world and all the support, but if it's not something that you're really about or you have like the right approach and the right thoughts of and the mindset towards, it don't really matter. Like everybody else, you could got like 100 people cheering you on, but if it's not for you or if it's not something that you're really passionate about or really have a drive to do, it doesn't matter. So when you trying to when you trying to be successful, or everybody telling you, yeah, bro, like you like you hella smart, you should do like engineering, and you hate engineering, you whole guts. It don't matter how much more people tell you that you should do engineering because it's not for you. And the more people try to push you down a path that is not for you, is not going to be immediate, but it may increasingly get more and more friction against such. And there's going to be a time probably when you may look at and it's like you 45 and you're going 50 and you like got so much regrets because you didn't do X or Y. So for me, being a person who's left certain opportunities to the wayside to pursue what I'm doing now and it not being like particularly successful, there comes a lot of like doubts. I don't know a lot of people who in school feeling that same thing too. Like, bro, this is like my third year and I don't even like this and I feel like I want to drop out and like I can't believe this and like it's over. And to those persons I say, no, it's not. Bro, we got like we whole lives ahead of us, and not just particularly students, but just like people in general. Like there are persons who are only successful at like 50, and there are persons who make it at 60, and there are persons who make it at 40. Like to have this expectation, anybody who's a student or anybody who's young in a sense relative to like older persons, that we all got like figure it out like right now, is kind of crazy. And it kind of speaks to like how we identify ourselves. And I've realized this for me too. I felt like from 4 to 18, like if anybody asked me like about my life story, I was a student. And now if anybody was to ask me like what my identity is like I am trying to be an entrepreneur and obviously have some spiritual pursuits and other things going on in my life. But it's like I think like the difficulty with that is I realized, and a friend of mine was saying this recently. When she started a business, the difficulty she had is that she tied herself to the business. So when the business was doing awesome, she was good, and when the business was doing not so good, she was in like a not great emotional and mental state. And I think I have to work on that because we are more than what we do. You are more than a student. You're more than an employee. You're more than just like someone's like significant other. Like these broad terms with which we describe ourselves, I feel like in a sense kind of be holding us back because no, I'm able to appreciate that. I'm a son, I'm a brother, I'm a friend. Like, you know, I'm a companion to others, a role model to some, I would like to hope. know, an encouraging voice to others, like the whole scope of if we imagine like there's this whole way that we exist and we like there's this like this entire circle that like is our life and like what we do and what is in it, and we're just taking this small little dot, this small little pinhole of that and saying this describes all of us. It's not fair, right? Is And it's not just to ourselves either. So for me, again, yeah, we have dreams and we have things we want to do, but making that just our entire identity, nah, like I want to be someone who's gracious. I want to be someone who's understanding, and I want to be someone who's somewhat encouraging. And I'm realizing too, the reason why I was getting that stress for like beating up myself for not being able, like being tired and being exhausted is because like I tied my identity to the pod. I tied my identity to the business, like to the YouTube channel, to like everything I was doing. And when I, took a step back and realized like I have other things, like I'm not just that person, and why I am doing this is a lot more refreshing, and like I feel a lot more rejuvenated and ready to go again. I may still be that person who works hella hard 8 to 10 weeks and then burns out and crashes for 2 to 3 weeks. But like I at least know where I want that to go. Because it's so funny. This is only episode 12. And it's felt like the amount of effort I've put into just get to episode 12 to know that persons have done like 50 episodes of a podcast or like 100 plus episodes of a podcast. It's crazy. And it's like, in the grand scheme of things, I really have not done nothing. This is barely a drop in the bucket to get started. And in a sense, me thinking of it that way before was like hella discouraging. But no, for me, it's like there's so much room to grow. Like I had episode 12, bro. Like imagine it when we get to 50, or when we get to 25, when we get to 50, when we get to 100, is like instead of me thinking like, oh my gosh, I have so much more to go. Like it's more like I excited for my next episode. Like I want to see where this takes me, and it's so funny. We think that, well, I don't want to say we, but a lot of us think that success is only measured by if we win or lose, in a sense. And for me, I kind of was thinking of it like that too. But since starting the pod, since starting the business, like I've been a better person. I've found out things about myself. Like having no energy and coming home tired and still being able to push something is giving me like a resolution in my mind to be like, oh, you can do difficult things. I'm not saying I never thought about it before, but it's a different sort of struggle to be like mentally exhausted and then to find the energy to hopefully transfer a message that is encouraging, uplifting, and kind of funny and entertaining. I hope, to this point. And I would try to implore anybody, like, I've realized that, well, I did know this already, but like, life is hard. Life is difficult. Life is stressful. Like, you're talking about you might got exams, or, you may just have lost a loved one, or you recently start working, or you working and you going to school. Like, life is difficult. But it's so funny that so there's when there's chosen stress in a sense, or voluntary stress, like you want to go to the gym, or you want to run, or you ensuring that you work on the qualities and characteristics about yourself that are you know less desirable, or like you want to start a pod and you want to get your voice out there, like something happens and like you become a better person for it. Like the stresses that we have in life are not like, a lot of times they're not breaking us, they're building us up, and we got the wrong perspective. It was helped me to have like a more appropriate perspective is gratitude. Like I get to do a pod, like I get to get my voice out there. There's some persons who don't have, who live out in the net, right? Some persons who can't speak, so they're limited with regards to the amount of persons they can reach, right? Like I have a job and I'm able to like, it's not like I am making like hella dough, but like I get to be able to appreciate like the basic necessities in life, and a lot of persons don't. So me being grateful for every single opportunity now and try to make the most of it. And instead of me judging myself by based on like if I get 100 downloads every single um podcast episode versus like five, is me more looking forward to the person I'm gonna be when I keep doing these somewhat difficult things. And similar to you, if you got finals now, like I pray for you. But I'm telling you, like in the moment, we make all these things like a lot bigger than they actually are. Like when you go to the next stage in life, you be like, I was really stressing about finals. So again, you're not just a student, you're not just a business owner, you're not just an entrepreneur. Like you're an entire person, and your the results of what you do does not define who you are. That is not to say don't put like 100% effort. Just be the sort of person who continues to do difficult things and continues to push forward. And I'm realizing that, like, as everybody can win, everybody can come second or third, but we all could keep pushing forward or making the effort even when it feels difficult, and we will all be the better, for that sake, right? Um, yeah, I think that's somewhat of what I wanted to say. Continue to find your way. I've realized that I did accounts, and I was pretty decent, and could have done the whole ACCA and stayed at the where I was working before, and get a little promotion and stuff. But bro, I would not have been happy, like genuinely, and always be like, yo, did I waste like 3 years in university? Like, why I did all that and stuff? And it's like, cha, my man, like, bro, why you stop that? Like, you should have been doing that. You putting all this effort to this point, and now you just like switching up. And a lot of people might feel like that, like they owe it to other people to pursue a certain course of action, or like somebody did psychology and know they came out they don't have work because they didn't know like you gotta go do a master's into you could really only be like a therapist or something else or like be a teacher. I'm telling you, the what you've learned on path A can relate to path B. I'm telling you, like, and when you switch it around and find a path that you actually passionate about, you actually want to do, it's different. Don't feel it work. And if I ever I tell you no, mark this down. This is what April 7th, 2023. If I keep doing this and there's ever a time that this becomes my job, the game done is won. Like, even if it's just like basic necessities and like, bills and food, lodging, and like, transportation costs and all that sort of extra jazz. If there's ever a time where I can do this and I can just pay my own way and don't have to work for somebody else, and like, bruh, the game done. And that's it for me. Like, I know that for myself. So it's like, however you decide to find that for you, try. Like, I got friends that asking me like, why, like, how do you figure out like, why you want to do what you do and stuff. Like, bro, I just tried stuff. Like I was like, oh, let me get into tutoring. Well, nah. Oh, let me try accounts. Nah. Like, the only way you can figure out something for you is by trying things. You can't just sit there and be paralyzed by choice and be like, I don't know what I want to do. Like, actually get out there and like try stuff. So hopefully, just try to recap like what I was saying to this point. Please, I beg you, yeah. No matter what we do, life is gonna be hard. Life is gonna be stressful. I've realized that recently. We all like I felt it was on my shoulders. Yeah. So what to do is have some sort of like voluntary stress or like something that you put yourself through that kind of like strengthens you and makes you like more forceful and more powerful instead of just waiting for life to like knock you down a couple pegs. Like, arm yourself first. So find some sort of way that you could do to do something that is like uncomfortable. For me, that is trying to keep somewhat healthy and exercise and do the podcast and when content creation even when I come when I'm tired, and realizing that pushing through something like that that's difficult is what we should be seeking for, not the reward. Like, become is the person that you become in the process of trying to attain these things that is important, not the things that you try to attain. Like, that's the whole point. It is not when you reach the top of the mountain, but as the sort of person you become from the bottom from the bottom to the summit. You've become somebody who's unbreakable and motivated and determined and like powerful and like can be like wavered in your desire for like reaching stuff. And then like the world is your oyster. Try to show some gratitude. Um, like, there's a lot of persons in a lot worse off positions. Like, if I could briefly give an illustration, there was a day that I was really sick. Like, I have asthma, and we had some like dusty in the atmosphere and stuff, and it was like really affecting me, and it feel stink, like dog tired, my head hurting because my sinuses blocked up, my throat was sore, it was dry, like I was very very uncomfortable, was sensitive to like it was like a train wreck, right? And we had to go on the road. Like, I had to get some meds and stuff. And there was a gentleman, a young gentleman, and he was in a motorized wheelchair. I was like, bruh, like he would like even though my head pounding and I feel stink, like he would trade places with me in a heartbeat because like at least I have use of my limbs. I have like a lot more going on than he does. So being able to be grateful in whatever situation you're in is very powerful. So like every day, like there's stuff that you could give thanks for. Like you may not be necessarily a spiritual person or somebody who is around that, but like to have a positive attitude, to be like, I am grateful for this thing, I'm thankful for X and Y, and then to go about your day is a lot more beneficial. So again, number one, hopefully, like in the beginning of the days, like do something that's tough, do something that's difficult, something that can push you, that can set you there for success. Because when you do the most difficult thing at the beginning, you there, bro, you just feel like on top of the world. You feel like Superman. Two, try to get some gratitude. Try to be appreciating of like all these circumstances you have going on now. Like you at least get to face the struggle that you have now. A lot of persons don't. Like some persons can't afford university, right? That's an example. You get like for example for me, I get to go to work. Like at first, it's got some days like, oh my gosh, I can't go to work. Then when I think about like I get to go to work, there's some person that do not have a job, bruh, and you should be grateful for that. And finally, find your why. Find why you doing what you going through all this stress in life for. What is the story you want to tell? Like when you get 60 or 70 and talking to grandkids, you want me to do that was just like played it safe and like, oh yeah, because for me, if it, like, number I might think to anybody who is doing this, I just doing this not for me. If I was to go back now and switch up what I was doing and in 30, 40 years, yeah, I went to, I went to university, I did accounts and then I work at this company and, work my way up the carpet ladder and digga digga digga. That's not me, bruh. That ain't me. Like, I got so much things I want to do in my personal life, so much I want to do, you know, just to like kind of carve my own way and like see what I could do because I could always fall back on that stuff later. So please, like, make the effort, like, pursue what you really want to be about, even if it's like you feel like you waste 3 years in college or you've been doing this course part time and you're only doing it because you're trying to further yourself at your job, but you actually don't like your job. Like, I ain't saying to quit your job, but find little areas in which you could be more fulfilled because try not to get caught in the rat race. Like, as much as things could be going a lot better for me, success wise in the business monetarily, I am happy where I am. And I think that's a lot more viable than anything anybody could pay me. So I hope you do the same. So yeah, I wish you all the best. Again, I know you personally, whoever you are listening or watching, you got saying in your life that is difficult. We all do. But I hope by you trying to, prepare yourself by trying to go through something that is voluntarily stressful, obviously in a controlled environment that can help you and arm you for when life throws its own stresses at you. Try to be grateful because yes, there are persons imagine it. There are persons doing worse off than you. Give thanks, be positive. Those things actually have been proven. Like when you implement them for you to have a better life, better health, all those sort of things. Finally, just find stuff you want to do, stuff you like, stuff that you enjoy. Because a life of just pursuing stuff because that's what you should do or that's what society expects, ain't very fulfilling. And it's fun. I'm glad that I learned this at 22 because I got some people that only wake up at 45 and be like, bro, like, I want to be a painter. I want to go and like, I want to kind of travel across the country and do this and do that. I implore you try to figure out what that is now because looking back, when we get all older, that's gonna be what is gonna be most important. Like not what our jobs were in a sense. Like, did you go after what you want and did you really make the effort? And even if you didn't, like the person you become along that journey is a lot more important than if you were to play it safe. So yeah, I got another episode out. Didn't feel like it's kind of in this whole idea. Like I don't know if I really want to do this, but this feels good to kind of like speak these things. And it kind of, you know what, it kind of is a self care podcast, even if it's for me, because to get these things out, to speak about it, um, it makes me more resolved in what I want to do and how I want to approach life. So again, thank you for listening. I really appreciate it. Again, your time is valuable and what's not. And I hope what I said is, really resonates for you to some point. I just also want to mention that wherever you're listening or watching, I wanted I wanted to put forth to you, like, for you and your younger self, what's the advice you can give or what advice you would give to yourself, or given on these same areas of stress and trying to find your passion, like what's the best advice you would give to anyone or a younger version of yourself, and we can highlight the best comment in the next podcast episode. But yeah, thanks again for your time and have an awesome, lovely, enjoyable, great, appreciative, exciting and fulfilling day ahead, whatever you're doing. Thanks for listening.
Since you listened all the way to the end, you should probably listen to this episode over here, where me and my friend Rashina talk about how we have like healthy relationships and healthy mental health, even though being like hella stressed out as students, or other episodes of the Student Struggles podcast right there. Stay tuned, man. Enjoy.